1972, because he'd been espousing the theory that sugar was the enemy, not necessarily saturated fat, since 1957. He wrote a book called This Slimming Business in 1958, which advocated a low-carb, high-fat diet. For those in America, it was actually renamed and republished under the title Lose Weight and Feel Great. He gained some traction in the literary world through this book, and his culmination of his work was really Pure, White and Deadly in 1972, which basically caused a storm of derision from the sugar companies, the hugely wealthy sugar companies, who did everything they possibly could to discredit his theories, and of course supported by Ancel Keys. Really, it all came to a head in the 1977 William McGovern report, which led to the 1980s guidelines, the dietary guidelines, which, as we know, have led to mass metabolic manslaughter. It's been a trade, really. But Yudkin was called to the McGovern report to give his evidence. He did so, and William McGovern basically dismissed him with the words along the lines of, "This goes against everything that my doctor has ever taught me." And that effectively was the end of John Yudkin on the big stage. This was 1977. He then pretty much retired from academic work. He carried on a bit of work elsewhere, but it was really, and there is a book, Pure, White and Deadly, if you want to go and get it. But basically, his meaningful contribution, his meaningful stand against Ancel Keys had failed. It was over, which allowed the guidelines to come out in 1980, which led to the train wreck that we see today of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and all the other associated diseases with it. It's a shame that he bravely stood against Keys, but he was steamrolled by the political momentum of the time. So he definitely goes down as the second of the 6 heroes that I want to look at this week. So we'll move on to somebody else. Dr. Atkins, the famous Dr. Atkins and the Atkins diet. Yeah, not something which I'm necessarily over familiar with myself, because although it was about the only thing that I'd heard of in the low carb, high fat world when I first came into it 3.5 years ago, because it was quite popular back at the 1990s and the turn of the last century. I had a friend of mine whose girlfriend was actually on it, and she achieved some success. I didn't really take it seriously at the time, but I was aware of the fact that it was very much, it was all about meat. And I thought at the time, well, maybe I could give that a go, because it's I like meat. So, but I didn't really think about it too much at the time. And then she disappeared out of his life and took the Atkins diet with her. So I never really gave it much thought again until such time as I became, part of our community, the carnivore community, the therapeutic restriction, carbohydrate restriction community, and people such as Dave Mack remember it from their first attempts at the low carb and to lose weight. He was born in 1930 and died in 2003. The Atkins diet advises avoiding or limiting sugar, refined grains, low-fat foods, high-carb fruits, and starchy vegetables. So, again, he's very much on the same page as us, without necessarily being on the identical page. In my view, it's a bit complicated, and he still believed that carbohydrates were necessary for normal nutrition. It's a 4-phase diet, which starts off with fewer than 20 grams a day, which is of carbohydrates a day, which is classic ketosis levels. However, it does lead to the reintroduction of carbs, which is here where we differ as carnivores from Dr. Atkins, on account of the fact that we don't believe it is necessary to add carbs back in, and I certainly wouldn't do so. Full disclosure, I still drink non-alcoholic beer, so I do get a few liquid carbs. I think that's about it, really, apart from possibly... No, I think that's probably about my carb intake now, other than the trace carbs that you find in cheese and eggs and that. Atkins probably didn't understand that the need for carbohydrate in the human body is 0 grams per day forever, because there is no such thing as a necessary carbohydrate. And for those who are going to say, oh yeah, but the brain needs carbohydrates or sugar, glucose to function, yeah, you're absolutely right. Which is why we have this wonderful hormone called glucagon, produced by the alpha cells in the pancreas, which turns amino acids from protein into the glucose which the brain needs. At any one time, provided your body is working properly, it will produce the exact amounts of glucose that it needs to function correctly. And we certainly don't need any more than 1 teaspoonful of sugar circulating in our bloodstream at any time. So therefore, carbs are not necessary in the human diet. Now, he was not a healthy man, and there was a huge amount of controversy over his death in 1973, because he did die of a coronary disease. And of course, those who would push back against us are desperate to prove that it was the diet that killed him. However, it seems more likely that he was long time had congestive heart failure, cardiomyopathy, and it was possibly genetic. He had a lot of problems going back a long way, so the diet was incidental to that. And as just as a matter of interest, his wife actually denied she refused to allow an autopsy to happen on him. So his death is somewhat of a mystery, which is a shame, because basically those who would push us back are clinging on to his death by heart attack in 1973 as a tool, a weapon to use against us. However, the jury is out on that one, so I'm prepared to let that one rest and hopefully give us the benefit of the doubt. But we don't know for sure. So we've had a look at the Dr. Atkins diet revolution. He's the third of our heroes from the 20th century. So if Nikki would care to flag up another one from our little library that we put together, we'll have a look at the next slide. Philip John Randall. He's a fascinating guy, he really is. I'm just going to go and find my notes on him, so I don't confuse everybody, because he confuses me, believe me.
And if everybody wants to come in live, I've put up the live on the screen there. So if you want to join us live, just
certainly. I'm looking at the time. If I'm 18 minutes halfway through, so basically, I think I'm probably going to complete the slides by about halfway through. So that would be great if anybody wants to come in and discuss things. But if I can just go through the slides, and we've got a good time afterwards, Nikki, for anybody to jump in and join us. That'll be great fun, because it is about fun. But we'll carry on talking about the Randall cycle, Sir Philip Randall. Okay, so Sir Philip Randall was born in 1920. His doctoral thesis.
He was born in what year? You cut out there. When was he born?
In 1926. He was born in 1926.
Okay, thank you.
So he was 2 years after my own father, actually.
Oh.
And so he actually wrote his doctoral thesis to get his PhD on studies on the metabolic action of insulin. So he was well clued up that insulin was probably one of the key factors in metabolism. Excuse me while I cough. Got a bit of a dry throat because I'm talking quite a lot. He was prominent in the field of diabetes research. Now, obviously, I'm a former myself a type 1 diabetic, two very, very different conditions. And I do question whether type 2 diabetes should be called diabetes at all, because it's actually hyperinsulinemia and hyperglycemia, whereas obviously type 1 is a totally different thing, by which the insulin, the pancreas is damaged. There's no function really, and the type 2 diabetics gets damaged, but you can reverse it, as I have done. So he to give the right. This is interesting, because I think everybody knows that they call it the Randall cycle, and nobody really knows what it is, apart from possibly Professor Bart Kay and possibly Jonathan Griffiths of Carnivore Muscle, who spent a lot of time studying it. But if we give it its full name, it kind of explains it a bit better. So its full name was the Randall cycle of carbohydrate and fat metabolism. So basically what he was doing was looking, ignoring protein and looking at how the body metabolized carbohydrate and fat in concert, if you like. It was also known as the glucose fatty acid cycle. So what he was doing, basically, he was showing how the body can switch between fuels, between using glucose and using ketones, the fatty acids. He came up with the Randall cycle in 1963. He had many honours. He was a very well-respected, honoured scientist at the time, one of which was the Banting Lecture of Diabetes UK in 1965. Now, this goes back to our friend William Banting from the previous century. So he was still, his name was still being used, and it still is today. And he had an honour in his name in the UK in 1965, which was won by Sir Philip Randall. Now, Professor Barkay, who I've already mentioned, he understands the mechanics of the Randall cycle, which is something I don't. And he wonders why Sir Philip is not better known. Now, I think the clue is in the year in which he actually published the Randall cycle, because this was 1963. And our great friend, our old friend or foe, Ansel Keys, was at the time the guy who basically crushed Professor John Yudkin's reputation, was at the time at his most rampant. In 1961, he was named as Time Magazine Man of the Year, and he looked like he was going to be the saviour of the human race from cardiovascular disease with his diet art hypothesis. Therefore, anybody who came up with a theory showing that the body can function perfectly well using fat as ketones as a source, he was not going to be allowed to really come to prominence. Now, I haven't got the evidence I've got that Ansel Keys had a direct intervention against Randall. My guess is that the Ansel Keys gang, his cheerleaders, were being so noisy at the time through Time Magazine and other publications that probably that Sir Philip Randall didn't really get a look in. Therefore, his work went unnoticed apart from in academic circles. But as we've seen, it was very well and truly accepted in academic circles, because he did win several awards. But he wasn't featured as Man of the Year on the front cover of Time Magazine, and mainstream media trumps medical journals. So that was really the reason why Sir Philip Randall didn't come to the prominence that he deserved. In my own take on it, what I remember about the Randall cycle is that glucose, the body can feed on glucose, it can also function on ketones and fat. And if you actually overload on both carbohydrates and fat, you are not creating a balanced diet, you are creating a conflicting diet, and the body doesn't know which way to turn, so you end up getting diabetes, like I did. I'm down from 293 down to 173, and I'm no longer diabetic. And that's because I eat a balanced diet, which is fat and protein, with no carbohydrate. So thank you, Sir Philip Randall, for that one. Okay, so I think we've got some people.
We do. We've got some. I'm just wondering. Let's go over them all and make sure that everybody's got a good look
right, okay. So yeah,
at everybody.
This is a new one for this evening.
Yeah.
This is the Hollywood producer, actually, Jim Abrahams. He was part of a little group of people who produced such classics as The Naked Gun. Those of us who remember that one, let's show our age now. Leslie Nielsen, what a hilarious movie that was. So yeah, he was a Hollywood producer. So how can he possibly have an effect on the ketogenic world? Well, he had a son, Charlie. Well, he has a son, Charlie Abrahams, who is now a successful teacher, I believe. Jim himself died only as recently as November last year. He had a 20-year battle with leukemia, which he lost last year. He was born. Jim was born in 1944, and he lived to the age of 80 in 2024. And he fought leukemia for 20 years. Very brave battle. But his key role was the fact that his son Charlie was a terrible sufferer of epilepsy when he was a child, and none of the anticonvulsant drugs were having any effect whatsoever. And then he read about the 1920s work. So this brings us nicely back to the ketogenic team of the 1920s with Dr. Russell Wilder and the ketogenic diet. And he discovered it. He discovered this work. So he then, out of a form of desperation, I suppose, basically put Charlie on a ketogenic diet. And what do you know? Charlie's condition improved massively to the point where he was able to really rejoin his normal childhood. Charlie is now a very successful teacher, I believe, from what my research is showing, and his epilepsy is very much under control. Now, Jim was a wealthy man, married, and he was so grateful to the work of the ketogenic people back in the 1920s that he started the Charlie Foundation. He was a co-founder with his wife, and that was to help cure pediatric epilepsy in 1994. So he was kind of the back end of the 20th century versus 70 years previously when Dr. Russell Wilder was around. So there was a nice circle here, if you like. So at the relatively beginning of the 20th century, the ketogenic diet was just coming into fruition, or into being, really, I suppose. And then at the very end of the 20th century, so Jim Abrahams was able to set up the Charlie Foundation, bring the ketogenic diet back into the popular consciousness of the public, which then led on into the 21st century, and it eventually led to us, the modern day keto followers, the therapeutic carbohydrate restriction followers, commonly known as carnivores, hyper-carnivores, whatever else, other than low carb, high fat. We are all part of the same broad church. So yeah, I think we owe Jim Abrahams quite a lot for basically keeping going and keeping the momentum from the 20th century into the 21st century, which has enabled so many of us to have such fantastic results. Okay, I think there's one more person I would like to touch on for the 20th century.
Okay.
If you can find me Wilhelm Stefansen,
Oh.
that'd be nice, but don't worry if you can't, we'll just talk about it.
No, that's...
There's Dr. Wilder, yeah.
No.
And we're going back to the 19th century.
Okay. You know
okay,
what? Yeah, I'll grab him.
Can you bring me up onto the big screen so I can...
You betcha. You know what? I got something for you.
Go on. Okay.
I got something for you. There we go.
Here we go. Here is Wilhelm Stefansen. He was christened William Stevenson. I wish he kept that name because it's a damn sight easier to pronounce it. Wilhelm Stefansen. Well, I've been practicing that quite a lot. He was actually born to Icelandic parents in Manitoba in Canada. In the year he was born in 1879.
You said he was born in Canada?
Yeah, he was born in Manitoba, Canada.
Right.
His parents said, there's one for the Canadians. We've got Canada on the border.
He's my neighbour. Kinda.
Absolutely. So his parents actually emigrated from Iceland to Canada, and he was born in 1879, christened William Stevenson by his parents, who wanted to blend in with the anglicised names in Canada. And he actually changed his name back to the Icelandic version when he was about 20 years of age, which is interesting. Now, he was an Arctic explorer. He was a man who brought quite a lot of controversy with him because the Arctic exploration back in those days was really a dangerous affair, and a ship that he abandoned to go and try and get help was broken up by the ice with the loss of all souls, but he managed to escape using, I believe, dog sleds. But of course, it drew a lot of criticism. It was a case of he saved himself, but my view wouldn't have done anything to say just to sink, go down with the ship when he had plenty more important work to do. And the only way that he could have helped those people is by going and getting some support from the local Inuit community and coming back to help them, but it didn't happen. And there was a couple of other, again, other people were lost on his expeditions. But the Arctic is a dangerous place. Now, there were times when he basically went there thinking that he had taken off supplies. He didn't. And he ended up eating as the Inuit did, which was the very much meat-based diet. And in the end, he spent about 13 years on and off with the Inuits and lived perfectly happy on a meat-based fish and diet with a few fermented veg, I believe. But basically it was meat-based. Now, his assertion that a modern-day European man or American man could live on meat alone was met with a lot of criticism back in the United States. So in the end, it was decided by a year-long study at the Bellevue University of New York. The study was launched in
So I bought this thing about 3 weeks ago. Haven't even got it registered on Samsung yet. Forgot my damn password.
But there was the fear.
Those guys over there tried to get into the recovery. They can't. They said try you.
We can do it, but you will lose everything from the.
That's fine.
That's fine.
There won't be much on there anyway because it's brand new.
And if you have the Gmail account, you have to sign in with the Gmail account. If you don't have, you don't need. If you have, then you have to use the same account. Okay. Okay. It will take around 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
I'll wait.
And it's supposed to send it.
How much?
70. Okay. Just give me 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Okay. I have to do it.
Carsten Anderson. He was Danish, and he had a very open mind.
Are you sure you don't need it? Thanks. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Now, he and Wilhelm went in for 1 year in a controlled study in Bellevue University in New York, and they.
So you're doing videos for advertising? Or?
Yeah, it's a live video where it's a live interview right now.
Were 80% fat and 20% protein, which is what I think most of us are pretty much familiar with nowadays. Right, so just a quote. Both men remained healthy. They showed no sign of vitamin deficiency or kidney problems, and in fact, they showed improved health and disease resistance.
I started by plugging with my computer. Just doing okay. But
Sounds like a little bit of technical support going on in the background with Nikki, but I think that's no problems. So yeah, now again, I'm here to give you an overview, not the definitive history. However, I have found a fantastic primary source, which is the Bellevue study in fact, the history of Wilhelm Stefansson in his own words. So I'm going to tell you what it is, where you can find it.
Part if I knew it, I wouldn't be
It's
here.
actually called Wilhelm
I've tried every one I could think of at home.
All Meat Diet, Part 1 and 2, and you will find it on the website physicalculturestudy.com.
Physicalculturestudy.com.
Physicalculturestudy.com is 3 separate words run into one word. So physical, culture, and study, but there are no spaces in between the words, and then it is a .com. If you put that into your web browser, into your search engine, and look up Wilhelm Stefansson's All Meat Diet Parts 1 and 2, it brings it up very nicely, and it is in his own words. Now, it's incredibly detailed, incredibly informative. I have yet to read it fully myself because I simply haven't had time when I've been doing the research on all these people. But it is on a list of things to do.
I called you there.
And it explains how it came about, how the people who encouraged him, the people who discouraged him, and
Yes,
it's a great book for me, so I find
Normally them aardvarks really keep breaking.
who are interested in this film.
I think I might hit
I think it's going to be great.
Less impact right here.
Yeah, not probably cracked around. That's the part that they
Now,
go.
it happens to know that from
Okay.
research that my friend DCO
Let me write the name and number, then I will let it go.
You betcha.
You want to go with the pink one? You said that in that
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, that's right. You got a overabundance of big ones, so you got to move a few of them out.
Give me your number.
587 277. That's the phone number on this phone.
So
0062.
Name?
And think about it for a second, I'll call myself.
Your name?
Curtis.
Can you get her phone number? I will
Yep.
call her. What's her phone number? You don't know your phone number.
668-2904.
Wait a sec, 780-668-2764.
Okay, 2764.
668-2764.
That's close.
Your name?
K-A-R-Y.
Anyway, so that brings me to the end of written for 36 minutes in, so that kind of brings me
You paid in last time 130?
Yep.
I will give you 10% discount. Okay?
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
Awesome, thank you. What time, do we back?
By tomorrow?
Yeah, if anybody would like-
Tomorrow I will bring you.
Oh, tomorrow?
Are you any way able to, cause
Yes, and
he
I'm
come,
gonna
he come out the
just
way
go
out
over
from
these
Wild.
slides
Yeah,
again.
I
Anything you
won't
wanna
be
say
probably
about-
back in
just
tomorrow.
I'm
just
just kidding.
comment
I will
there.
give you maximum 2 hours.
Okay, okay, I'm just kidding. Okay. I'm thinking, I don't think I can make it back.
I'm just making time for you.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, maximum 2 hours, but I have her number, I will give you call.
Okay, I appreciate it. So I'm thinking, I don't think I can get back in tomorrow.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, thank you.
Told him it had to be the pink.
Yes, he do. He doesn't know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
we
Yeah,
have to do.
yeah. Thanks a lot, see ya.
Bye.
his troops and distance radio sources and things. All people were dying disease, they were for the enemy action. He came up with the Salisbury State and
Do you need his login information?
gastrointestinal diseases that were killing his troops, such as dysentery. There is juries out on this here. I'm going to believe that he probably had a knock-on effect. He saved a lot of lives through nutrition. How many of those lives were then lost? I don't know. But such is the madness of
I'll get out of your ear for a while, I'll be back.
If you want, you can have a seat.
Isn't this fun?
Are you okay? Otherwise, you can have a seat.
You sure?
Yeah, I don't
I
mind.
don't want to disturb the lady with her business here.
It's up to you. Ask her.
Is the coffee shop open down at home?
No, they closed. They are doing a renovation here. Coffee shop just by the outside the mall by that thing.
I'll hang tough then. Thank you.
I decided to go and research the people who were about the ketogenic diet for epilepsy in the 1920s. And this is the man, the most important of that particular group of people. Why? Because he actually came up with the term the ketogenic diet. So it is to him that we owe basically the two words, ketogenic diet, to describe our lifestyle. So without him introducing that into the language, we'd probably still be struggling to find something which neatly fits in our lifestyle. So we owe a lot to Dr. Russell. John Newton, the sugar man, pure wise and deadly, very good scientist. Long had suspicions that sugar and saturated fat was the problem. Sugar and not saturated fat was the problem. Attempted to prove it, broke pure white and deadly, came up against the millions of the Sugar Research Foundation, and came up against the ego beyond two legs. It was the thing that is Anton Keys. And basically, Anton Keys made sure he was able to discredit him. It came to a head in the 1977.
I'll see you in a little while, Mark.
Sure, man.
Thank you.
Many millions of people have died unnecessarily young, and many millions of people have lost body parts to diabetes, and it's down to the fact that nobody would listen to John Newton back in 1972. Very, very concerned.
Very. Thank you for bringing this up. Stories not to be forgotten.
No, that's it. Dr. Atkins, probably one of the, I would say, he probably wasn't one of the more serious ones, but he actually carried on with the ketogenic revolution without realising it. He realised the carbs were the problem, that he wasn't really able to take it as far as carnivore because he still still believed in adding carbs back into the diet after you've sorted out your metabolic health problems. He wasn't a well man himself, died at the age of 73 from heart failure. Was found to have very badly clogged arteries, but that was the he didn't have an autopsy, but he was found to be congested. He had congestive heart failure. He was unhealthy throughout his life. The people who support carbohydrate training and carbohydrate loading basically try to pick up on that fact, but it's not proven either way. But what we do know is that a lot of people had a lot of success with the Atkins diet. But the only problem with the Atkins diet is it encourages you to go back on the carbohydrates. So it's one of those yo-yo diets that you have great success on, and then you're tempted to go back, and it's mission creep again, and you put the weight back on. As I said before, there was a chap I knew had a girlfriend who did it for a while, and she, again, lost a lot of weight. But again, by the time I didn't see her anymore, she was beginning to put it back on again. So yeah, he was definitely he kind of, when Yudkin was dismissed, then Dr. Atkins was out there and he kept the flame alive. So we do owe him a bit, and he definitely did keep the flame alive through the 1970s and 80s.
Okay.
That's another picture of Robert Atkins, much older before his death. Died in 2003, so again, he actually lived into the 21st century himself, died at the age of
73. Now we've got thank you so much for sharing with us. Is there anything else you want to add that's coming up for you now?
No, not really, no. I think, what we've done, as you know, you've very kindly christened me the Carnivore story, which I like actually, I really thought of that. And I was just talking on Sunday School Carnivore and telling my great friend, the Carnivore teacher, about it earlier. And certainly, I was having a chat with Dr. Nelson and Dr. Kiltz about it the other day, and Dr. Nelson predicts I will write history books in the future, which I probably will do, to be honest with you. We had a look at the heroes from the 19th century and the 20th century. I don't think I really need to go into the 21st century next week as far as the heroes are concerned, because I think most of us have found them through YouTube, and those people are such people as Professor Thomas Seyfried, Professor Robert Lustig, Anthony Chafee, Plants Trying to Kill You, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Robert Kiltz, our sponsor, fabulous man, and various others, Dr. Lisa Weidman, to name but a few. I've got a massive list of doctors who fit the bill. But I think that we're all aware of them. So what we really need to do now is go back next week. I'll go away and do my research. We talked about the heroes, but what about the villains, the pantomime villains, the boo-hiss villains? Because they very much emerged in the 19th century themselves, and they carried on well into the 20th century. And let's face it, they're more fun, aren't they? Because we really do enjoy having a dig at them. So we're going to be sort of going back to Sylvester Graham and Graham's Crackers, because he was completely crackers, and also, of course, the legendary Ellen G. White, Ellen Gould White. I won't support it by saying which church it was that she founded, but she was the high priestess of the vegan church, and her protege, John Harvey Kellogg, Kellogg's Cornflakes. Does anybody know why he recommended cornflakes? Was it to make a man of you? Was it to give you, make you a much more
healthy,
fertile? It's much more healthy.
Yeah.
No, but we should examine the reasons as to why, and I should try and find some language which is acceptable to everybody when it comes to describing the reason why he didn't want men to actually be eating red meat. So, and then obviously we're going to go into the 20th century. We're going to look at the Russian scientist whose name I can never remember, who insisted on feeding rabbits meat, and then said, "Oh look, they're all dying. Therefore, meat must be very bad for the human race, because if we feed rabbits meat, they curl up and die." Okay. Now are kind of rodents. Did he think of that? I wonder, when he was feeding them meat and saying that they were dying. I need to do a bit of research on him, so. We'll do that. I know that I find the name very hard to pronounce. I've got no doubt somebody out there is going, but it's him. Yeah, and I'm sure you do know, but I should do the research on that. And then, of course, we're going to look at the notorious Ansel Keys and his Seven Nation study, and his diet heart hypothesis, and the Minnesota coronary experiment, in which he ironically totally disproved his own theory, and then took his name off the paper and hid the paper, as all good scientists do when they don't get the result that they wanted. There's various there's various other villains out there. Again, but those are the most famous ones off the top of my head. William McGovern being another one, the McGovern report, and Rockefeller as well. We need to look at Rockefeller because basically he
Is that a swear word?
using it. Yeah,
That's a swear
Rockefeller,
word.
using his petrochemical wealth, he bought out the medical industry and standardized it so that you had to only had to have allopathic medicine through drugs, and he carried on his wealth by dominating the pharmaceutical companies. So there was no alternative medicine. You couldn't go back to root cause. You had to prescribe drugs if you were a doctor because he owned you. And that condition still exists today. So I think, as you can see, we've got a lot of villains to get stuck into, many of whom are only names and outlines to me at the moment. And I'm going to have a lot of fun over the course of the next couple of weeks doing a deep dive down the rabbit hole. But again, I would urge you to do your own. Don't rely on me because this is kind of new to me as well. So what I'm doing is giving you names. I'm giving you a couple of resources, and I'm giving you an overview of what they're about. But if you're a critical thinker, please do go and study them for yourselves.
I'm just going to go. Sorry to interrupt you. How rude.
Yeah, you carry on. It's great because my voice is getting sore. I need somebody else to talk.
I want to say hello to everybody. What everybody's been saying into the chat room. Deanna Raw just says, talking about Kellogg's, stopping people from being sexual beings. Interesting comment.
Thank you, Deanna. You are brilliant on the course because you always have very good knowledge, and it certainly is a different way of putting it than what my military mind leans to. I'm a typical ex-soldier who we used to talk very much more frankly about things, using words which would not be suitable for general consumption. Yeah, so basically, Kellogg's wanted human beings, for women as well, I presume, to actually stop from being sexual beings. He basically wanted to draw a blank canvas over the sexual proclivity activity of the human race, even though apparently he had some very bizarre habits himself in the background, which didn't involve other human beings apparently. But Anthony Chafee likes to talk of those. But
really,
I'll find a way of touching on those.
I've never heard of that. Never heard of that.
Okay, yeah. No,
I would be interested.
I will find a way because Anthony was what I saw was actually talking in a very blokey fashion with a couple of Australian blokey people.
Blokey.
And he put it in very crude blokey guys.
Oh.
And yeah, he put it in very sort of crude terms, shall we say? So I won't borrow directly from Anthony to discuss it. But Anthony Chafee is an expert on what John Harvey Kellogg got up to in his spare time, shall we say? Or he called healthy as well. So there we go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Coach Juliet Edens, thank you for coming in. She said she's staying on to listen in one ear. She says, darn, my hubby booked a family via video call in 6 minutes. His family. Hopefully I can keep it short and be right back. I will watch what I miss and replay.
We're not going. Yeah, and we got Deanna with us as well, which is nice. So we got the couple of our great classmates.
Yeah, and Shannon Bedard says hello.
Oh, Shannon's there as well. She excellent. That's good news. That's wonderful.
Juliet.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know, Nikki, but on Thursday this week, on the 6 o'clock, Dr. Kills is 6 o'clock. The lady Katie, who was supposed to join him, couldn't make it. So I literally just tuned in, and poor old Ali was saying, right, anybody out there? She was looking in comments. She said, what I want is any of the recently qualified. She said, George, you're in the comments. Come and join. So I didn't let it down. I went and joined them. We had a great chat, actually, myself, Ali, Dr. Kills and Dr. Nelson. And it was at that point that Dr. Nelson said, well, actually did say for the first time, he said, I'd like to include a bit of history into the future teachings, and I will be asking George to be the history teacher. So this is great practice for me, believe me, because if the Dr. Kilt's vision of a citizens' academy or university, if you wanted to call it, a carnival university academy comes into existence, And with Dr. Kilt, you never can tell. Never ever underestimate the power and the drive behind that man. If it does come into existence, I think all of us will have a role to play, because we were the original coaches, and I've always maintained that a lot of people out there are a lot better at pronouncing beta hydroxybutyrate than I am. So I foresee my role as being the carnivore historian, as you have so kindly christened me. And I will be using that in the future, but we shall see. Anyway, right. So, is there anything that anybody else wants to bring up in the comments, or wants to come on and join us? My voice is getting a little bit tired now, because I've already done Sunday School Carnival this evening. So
you're so good. That
was great fun. If anybody didn't watch it live, or go back and find it on John Laspina's channel, the Carnivore Teacher. We had a fantastic, lovely young lady called Pumi tonight from Zimbabwe, and we had a great deal of fun. Rick was in the audience, so my famous Rick duck did its famous flight across the screen.
That's amazing. We gotta get a mascot for next week.
Yeah.
Next week we'll get a mascot.
Well, I have my.
We're here on Club Carnivore.
I have my mascot. So basically, whenever Rick appears, then my duck does aerobatics across the screen just to keep Rick happy. So there we go.
We'll keep Rick happy.
But no, a mascot. I think that's a really good idea. I think that all of our YouTube channel should have a mascot.
Yes,
Banksy the duck.
I think a duck is great.
Bags the duck. Yeah,
duck is great. I'm actually doing what's called, I've coined the term DFF, the duck fat and fish diet. That's what I'm doing for the next 3 months. I'm doing a C-peptide test. See how it affects my C-peptides.
So that sounds like a very watery diet, because ducks are obviously very watery, and so are fish. But
yeah,
I'm only joking.
Yeah.
But I suppose you could call it an aquatic diet, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's an aquatic diet.
So it's
aquatic diet. So, so next week we're going to be talking about villains. So we're on Club Carnivore. That's my other channel. If you're listening in, just join us there if you wish. So it's just a new channel. I'm here live on YouTube now. If you want to check this out, a different angle, I'm streaming also on my Miss Lafalot YouTube channel. So thank you very much, George. We're going to wrap it up here, and thank you so much.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll hang on for a second when after you finish when you press the button on the live, and we'll just have the usual after show party.
Yeah,
that's when we break it. That's when we break out the champagne and the chocolate and the potato chips. Oh, I didn't really say that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna see if I got another picture of you. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I got. How do I do this again? I'm really impressed with my learning curve. Learning how to do this. Okay, I got a picture.
I'm still behind you, believe it or not. So
I don't have the other one of you. I'll get it next time. But anyway, this is a picture of. Why didn't that come up? I'm gonna put a picture of. I got to remove an image to bring up. I was gonna bring up a picture of Amy Perrin. I'm gonna be on her show on Wednesday.
Amy,
yeah. I'm excited. There'll be a few of us type 1 diabetics. In case anybody don't know.
A couple of I've seen Amy's trying to track down the 4th type 1 diabetic on the course, isn't she?
It's a mystery.
Because there's yourself, her, and I know the other person.
There's Teresa and
Teresa B. That's right, Terry B. Is it? I think so. Yeah. And there's one other. We're having trouble finding out who it was.
We'll figure it out. So Deanna Raw says regarding the Rockefeller family is a way our medical school are funded by Big Pharma.
Yeah, that's my understanding so far. Basically, they follow the money.
The money.
The money has bought the Rockefeller money has basically bought out the medical industry. Deanna's absolutely right. She is, Deanna I've been very impressed by her knowledge on the last 13 weeks. Very glad that she's one of us. Very glad to see her here as well, because she's also joined the WhatsApp group in fairly recent times, and she's a great source of knowledge. So it's a great comfort to have Diana as a friend.
Yes. I'm looking forward to getting to know who you are. I'm sorry I don't. But anyway, I'm getting a request for my email, for my YouTube stream. It's info@laughtercore.ai. Don't tell anybody. Make sure you tell me who you are. I know just tell me who you are because otherwise, if I don't know who you are, I'm not going to open the email. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Join us next week. We'll be, George will be telling us about the villains that we can.
Yep, some of the villains.
Are you going to wear a costume, like a costume, like a villain costume?
I haven't really got anything secret really because
I'm going to.
I'll have a thought. I mean, I've got a werewolf hat, but I'll save that for Halloween. No, we'll just maybe I'll wear my black hat to make myself look a bit more of a villain.
Okay.
I'll probably do it that way.
Okay. So villains next week, Sunday on Club Carnivore, and we'll see you around the playground. Remember to be naughty.
Thanks, Sam.
Remember to be naughty. Always be naughty.
Carnivore is fun. Remember that.
Okay. Bye.